FC25 brings a complete rework of the tactics system, and with the new views and settings, this might not only be confusing at the beginning, but also lead to crucial mistakes when setting up your tactics. Don't ruin your first matches in FC25, and hey, here I am to help you with that. I'm Benjamin from The Guide, and in this video I will provide you with a quick overview on how to get started with FC IQ and also a first very basic tactic for everybody to play with. Let's start with the first view. Here you pick the formation, the build-up style and defensive approach. For the start you could also use the tactical presets, but if you want to create your own tactic, just ignore this. The formation is the formation that you defend with. You will see later why this is important, but for now just keep that in mind. This is how your team is lined up without the ball, so pick a formation that you feel comfortable defending with. Build-up style offers three options: short passing, balance and counter. This is how your teammates will support you, either with more deeper runs on counter or coming short when you set it on short passing. It also influences how fast your team will transition to other positions when you win ball possession. Short passing is slow, counter is fast. Quite important, build-up style actually just means the build-up situations in your own defense or midfield. The chance creation in the last third of the pitch isn't affected by it. At the beginning I would recommend having this on balanced or short passing. Only use counter with a very specific idea how your team can benefit from quick counterattacks. Otherwise this is more risky and harder to play. Defensive approach offers four options: deep, balanced, high and aggressive. With these settings comes always a default line height value, which you can also manually adjust. If you go below or above the next threshold, the defensive approach changes. That's a big change to earlier versions. You could have played constant pressing with a def or line height value of 10. Didn't make a lot of sense, but it was possible. Now in FC IQ there is a direct coupling between line height and how your team defends. The defensive approach mainly changes how your defensive line behaves. How high does it stand on the pitch, do they track runs or not, and do they trigger automatic offside traps? And if your team applies pressure. Only aggressive plays a pressing tactic with pressure on heavy touch. At the end of FC24, playing 100 def was really meta, but the equivalent, 100 line height, isn't as effective because the CPU pressing isn't as oppressing. Additionally, it increases the stamina drain. You can still play an entire match with the aggressive setting, but you will notice a difference in terms of stamina. I would advise to only use this towards the end of the match when we need a goal. Interested to learn more about those specific settings, how it influences your options while playing, and also getting tactics from high-level players on a regular basis? Check out our FC IQ Foundations and Tactics course at The Guide Plus. We cover the most important aspects of FC IQ a bit more in depth to ensure you the perfect start in FC25. Click the icon in the top right corner or the link in the video description. Coming back to the line height, in general I would recommend a value of 61. So we get the situational pressing with a high defensive approach, but don't stand too high. If you don't feel as comfortable with that situational pressing, you can also just play with balance for the defensive approach. So far, so good. Now we come to the real juicy part. The player roles. You can assign a player role to every player of your team. This is similar to instructions of previous years and defines the off-the-ball behavior of a player in the attack, but also in the defense. For example, a wide midfielder will keep a wide position in attack and also help more defensively, while as an inside forward, the player will contribute less defensively and act as a second striker in the box. As you can see, the different player roles have a huge influence on the positioning of the player. This is also visualized with a heat map around the player, but also by switching the view with the right stick from without ball to with ball. Remember when we talked about the transition time from the defense to the attack, which is different based on the build-up style? This is what is affected by it. How fast you transition from the defending phase without the ball to the attacking phase with the ball. That's also why we said in the beginning that the formation determines the formation that you defend in, because as you can see with player roles, you can completely change the architecture of your formation in the attack, switching from a 4 at the back to a 3 at the back, etc. This can also be further modified or adjusted by the focus that you assign for every player and their role. Depending on the specific player role, you have different options for the focus. The transition time from the defending to the attacking phase is also affected by role familiarity for each single player. There is plus, plus plus, base, and out of position. The more familiar a player is with that role, the faster they transition between defending and attacking. But not only that, more importantly, the player fulfills that role on a better level. This means better positioning, better runs, etc. Every player has at least one plus role, and at least at the start of the season, the plus roles are only for the world-class talents. Pretty sure later on we will get more players in Ultimate Team with plus roles. I just mentioned out of position, and this is a major change that probably got a bit unnoticed early on. You can swap players in the player roles view by pressing triangle or Y. You should try to play every player in a suitable position. But here is the catch. Those preferred and alternative positions of a player are much more important now. In the last couple of years, you could just start with a formation, have every player in a comfortable position, and then go crazy with the swaps in another tactic. For example, play your winger as the striker or your fullback as a CDM. That's not possible anymore. At least not without the burden of playing players out of position and thus worse role familiarity. Yes, you can still create additional tactics and formations to change during the game, but still, preferred positions are important in order to get the role familiarity at least on a base level. Your winger might also have the skill set to play in the cam position, but if they don't have it as a preferred position, they will play it with an out of position role familiarity, so with worse off the ball behavior, etc. Okay, I think we have to let that sink in for a moment. As shown, we can still create alternative tactic layouts with different formations, settings, and player roles. For this, you just need to create a new one, duplicate an existing one, or you can also just import one with a code. Try this code here, that's a real basic setup for the start, a classic 4-4-2. If you want to learn more about how to play with it, don't forget to check out our course at the Guide Plus, we cover this tactic more in depth there. In this course, we will also have a lesson later on how you can build a complete tactic layout with several tactics. In the best case, you have a main tactic, an alternative one to switch to if your first one doesn't work against the opponent, one to close out a game, and one to go full out attack when trailing towards the end of the match. You can switch to those tactics during the match by pressing left on the D-pad. A small menu pops up, and with another tap on the D-pad you can switch to the corresponding tactic. But keep in mind that it will take a bit until this change is carried out. It's faster when the ball goes out of play. Okay, that's it. We covered the most important aspects to get a grip on the new tactics system in FC25. There are still some things to explore, like assigning players for set pieces or the smart tactics in-game, but you already know where you can learn more about it.
Nice.
After mastering the tactics, now it's time to master the gameplay. And is there a better way to start with the new totally insane skill moves? I don't think so. So better click on the video in the center of the screen right now. Thanks for your attention, keep a clean sheet, I'm out.